hello, and welcome to the Coaxum Report. This is Terry Coaxum, and I am super excited to be joined today by a phenomenal business owner, Miss Betty Hines. Miss Betty Hines is joining us today. She's not new to our TV network. I'm looking forward to a great conversation on International Women's Day with her. And for those of you that are just tuning in, you can find us on Roku. You can catch us on Amazon, on Android. I encourage you to download the app and be a part of the conversation. And more importantly, you can go on to our TV.network and to WSTX Bloomberg. You can also listen to us on the radio. Betty, how are you?
Hello, Terry, and happy International Women's Day to you.
Thank you so much. Happy International Women's Day to you as well. Betty, I'm glad you joined us today as the CEO of Women Elevating Women. And, you know, it's very fitting on this International Women's Day that you're here, that we're going to be having this conversation that are going to be encouraging, empowering, and inspiring small business owners, especially our women business owners. And so, Betty, why don't you tell the Coaxum Report, tell us who you are, you know, why you're in this space. Like, why do you do what you do? What keeps you up at night? But more importantly, what makes you get up in the morning?
Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my joy.
That's right. J for joy. Let's put that down. That's one nugget. J for
Absolutely.
joy.
I get great pleasure and joy in helping or supporting women scale their businesses.
That's right.
Reason why I'm in what I do, because past 20 years, few decades, I have been working with women who run multi-million and a few billion-dollar companies. But that's barely 4% of all women.
Wow.
So after facilitating these women, you realize, okay, if 4% are doing that, then what are the other 96%
That's
doing?
right.
And so that's why I started digging a little deeper and looking at some studies and reports from American Express and from SBA and from Forbes magazine. And we realized that there are a group of women that are at the six figures, and I don't like to use the word stuck, but they don't know where to go.
That's right.
So that is why I decided to do what I'm doing, because I give them the access to that information, resources, and opportunities. That's why I thrive every morning.
And that's what it's about, right? It's about giving back, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is literally our rent that we pay for just being here. You know, giving back. And I always say, you know, I'm a part of a few different organizations, and one in particular is the Eastern Stars. And I always say the only time that women should be looking down at other women is when we're pulling them up. And now I can say when they're elevating them up.
Yes. And we talk about
women
that all
are
the time.
elevating women. Women
we talk
are
about
elevating
lift
women
as you climb. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And that's important for us to do.
Oh, it is. It is.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things, Betty, and I'm sure I can share this with you because we have sisters from other misters together. And so we understand the value of these relationships. We understand the value of working together sisterly and helping and elevating and encouraging and inspiring and getting our joy from doing that. And so, you know, one of the things I'm going to ask you about is some of the barriers. I mean, I get asked all the time, and I have to respond in kind. I get asked all the time, well, why is it that women don't work together? And I have to say, that's not my experience. My women in my life, we work together. We work closely together. We elevate each other. We encourage each other. We empower each other. We keep each other's kids. You know, we go see each other's parents. Like we are the sisterhood that we need in this time. And so I'm not sure what women they may be referring to, but I don't have that experience. And so, you know, with that in mind, I want you to talk about some of the barriers, because we're talking about these six-figure sisters. We're talking about women that are at six figures and want to scale. And you are in the scaling business. And
Yes,
so
I
we're going
am.
to talk about some of the barriers to that. And then we're going to give some nuggets, because that's what the Coaxum Report is all about. It's about giving some solutions so that if you are stuck, you're going to look for Betty Hines to get you unstuck. So talk to us, Betty.
Well, I think it's great that you found a community that they share information. But having worked globally and within this country, that's not always the case. One of the things I speak to women about is to learn how to collaborate. We need to collaborate more. I'm not saying that we don't collaborate, but we need to do more collaboration. And I'm saying that, yes. And so I tell them, if you collaborate, it's better to do it together than do it as one, because there is enough out there for everybody. All of us.
Yep.
For everyone. And so these are some of the messages that I share with them is about the collaboration. The other thing that we do when you do the collaboration, you need to do those strategic introductions or those connections. Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody. And if you do that introduction for that person, you give them an opportunity to scale their business to a greater height, and they can reach back and pull you forward.
That's
So
right.
these are some of the things that I constantly share with, because if you look at the women who have been successful, be them an entrepreneur or an executive, these women all mirror these characteristics, the 5 characteristics or 5 pillars of success that I preach.
All right, and we're going to get into those 5 pillars of success, but we're going to drop that. We're going to make sure we understood that nugget you just dropped about collaboration, right? It's
Yes.
all about collaborating. It's all about like-minded individuals working together with our synergies and our energies and creating something that's powerful and great, and it can grow and scale, right? It's all about that. Everything that we're doing has been done before, right? There is so many more things for us to do collectively and creatively. We don't have to reinvent the wheel on a lot of things, and if we collaborate, it can get it done a lot quicker, a lot faster, and we can scale a lot sooner, right? So
Absolutely.
now when you talk about, before I get into the 5 principles that you preach, I want to talk a little bit about, because collaboration is the point that you get to once you face a barrier. So there's a barrier here. There's any barrier. For me, it's usually access to capital when I talk to my business. They're always
Mhm.
saying to me, I need access to capital. I got this contract, right? So a lot of what I do is I help my businesses get certified. And then once I get them
Mhm.
certified, I help them get contracting opportunities. And so what I tell them when they're getting certified is certification doesn't land a contract in your lap.
Mhm.
It's a license to hunt. So
Mhm.
once you're certified, that gives you the ability to be able to go after these contracts that are set aside for minority women business enterprises. So now you have a license to hunt and you can go out and get some of those opportunities. And so what they'll say to me is, okay, great. I'm certified. I got a contract. I need a contract loan. I need a contracting loan. I need operational costs, because what they don't tell you when you get these when
Mhm.
you get these contracts is that we're not paying you first. You're going to
Mhm.
do the job and then you're going to get paid for the job. And so if you had a $500,000 contract, $1 million contract, $6 million contract, you need to bring people in now to do the
Mhm.
work that you're contracted to do. You need to
Mhm.
really expand pretty quickly. And so you're going to need money to do that. And so a lot of times it's access to capital. So whether that's a line of credit, or whether that is an actual loan, an SBA guarantee loan, whether you're going to a CDFI or some unconventional resource. Those are the things that my businesses come to me about. So that
Mhm.
barriers are usually one of the main ones, and I try to give as many nuggets and tools about that. What about in your space that you're playing? Because you have 6-figure businesses and you're getting them unstuck and you're helping them scale. What are some of the barriers to access, the barriers that they're facing on that level?
Well, when you talk about scaling, one of the things you need to scale is working capital.
That's
And
right.
that's something that you mentioned to them. But what I make sure the women understand when you say, because it's like a coined phrase, access to capital, I want them to make sure they understand, what are you trying to access?
Hmm.
Because when you're talking about debt, are you talking about credit? Are you talking about venture capital? Are you talking about angel investors? So we take a look at their business and try to understand, what do they actually need in their business to grow?
That's right. What do
Because
you need the money for? That's right.
exactly. Because sometimes it might be you just want to go get a small business loan. You don't necessarily need to, because, what they don't understand, some of them, is that when you talk about private equity and you talk about those, it's not like they're giving it to you for free. There's a cost for that. They're going to they want you to do certain things by a certain date. They're going to want,
There are terms that
yeah,
are
their
associated with it.
terms,
Yeah.
exactly. And so they need to understand all that before they get this capital. So oftentimes what they do, I bring people in to make sure they understand. I bring different bankers in, different institutions, explaining to them what their options are. There are other resources that are out there, because as you well know, there are very few women who are in the angel area,
Yeah. Yeah.
very few, less
Of
than
angel
2%.
investors. That's right. It
Yes,
is.
yes, there's very few. So you're not going to get a lot of that. So
That's
it's
right.
important before they go to the dance, they understand what to wear.
That's right. That's right. And when you're talking about the access to capital, you're absolutely right. There's so many different vehicles. The first thing you must do, and she just dropped the nugget, guys, get your pencil and some pens out. She said, what do you need the money for? Because what you need the money for is going to determine the tool that you're going to use to get what you need, right? So it's all about the tools that you need. So the first thing is understanding your balance sheet. Understand, making sure that your taxes and your revenue, all of these things are in place. Understanding what your assets are. You know, if we're are we looking at our invoices? Are we taking those invoices into accounting and into our revenues? Like, what does our balance sheet look like? It's like, how much money can you afford, right?
Hmm.
So people don't really think about that. They're like, I need
Mm-mm.
money. What do you need money for?
Right.
How much money you need? Lots. Well, lots don't have a number.
Yeah. And I also tell them too, they try to wear too many hats. Go ahead and find you someone that is in finance. Let
That's
them
right.
work with books so you can focus on what you need to do and what you do well.
That's
Uh,
right.
I turn that over. You know, of course, just because you turn it over doesn't mean you turn away. I mean, you
That's
want to
right. You
stay
turn it
close.
over, but you understand what's needed. That's right.
Yes, and you
That's
make
right.
sure that they're doing what they need to do.
That's
But
right.
that is something that they do. They think I want money, and there's grants out there, but you've got to work to get those grants.
That's
So
right. That's
it
right.
depends on what you need it for. I
And
mean,
what
there's
you
a
need the
lot of
money for,
ways
and
to
that's
do.
really important. Yep.
Exactly. That's the key, what you want to do. And that is where the collaboration comes in. Because
Hmm.
depending on what you're doing, you might want to collaborate with somebody else. There might be an opportunity out there where if you're looking at a contract, a government contract, or you're looking at something that's with a private company, that together you can go in together. And so it gives you access to
Capital.
more
That's right.
capability. And
That's right.
so we need to
But
think more like that. It doesn't always have to be you. It
right,
can
the
be someone
collaboration
else
is
that you
important.
know that you can do the collaboration with.
Absolutely. And I think that that's really, really important for us to understand teaming, right? So
Yes.
teaming together on certain contracts because it'll make sure that you do have a bigger pool of access to whatever you need it for whether it's contract funding or operational costs, even the team, the leaders, the people that are in your
Hmm.
team that are doing what you need them to do, right? Having that collaboration will help you to get those members onto the team much quicker, much faster to do what you need them to do. And so that's really, really important. And I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of us, you know, we think we're on an island, we're on a river in Egypt, we're in denial.
Hmm.
We don't need nobody else.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
not until you get into the big boy, big girl business that you're describing right now. When you're talking about these big projects, these six-figure projects that are going to land you into being multimillionaires, you do need to collaborate. It's not just
Yeah.
me. You're not in a river. You're not just, there's no I in team, right? We're
Yeah.
told that, but collaboration is really important. And I'm glad you're bringing that home. This is a different show than shows that I usually do. This one is really about you're in this place and we want to get you unstuck. And so Betty is really like giving you these nuggets. I need you to write them down about collaboration, access to capital, know what you need the money for. Okay, so now I'm in, right? I'm collaborating with you, Betty. We have a multi-million dollar contract that we're doing. We have a consulting contract we're doing for the federal government for state GSA because they purchase
Hmm.
everything from paper clips to planes, right?
Hmm.
And so we're doing this contract and we're collaborating on it. So our first obstacle, there was a few, right? And so I didn't bring them up, but I'm going to go back. So usually it's recruitment, right? So we got this multi-million dollar contract. We're going to bring both of our businesses together. So we need to have the right team members. And so you and I are
Hmm.
going to consolidate.
Hmm.
We're going to bring in,
Hmm.
we're going to recruit the right team. So now we got the right team in place. We need to figure out what the budget looks like for this project, right? So
Hmm.
we're going to put all our heads together. We're going to get the
Hmm.
experts to come in, the CPAs, accountants, the attorneys to look at the
Hmm.
contracts,
Hmm.
making sure that all our things are put together. And so now we're in place and we're ready to do business and we understand what we need money for. So now you mentioned to us there's some additional ways that we can get money. So we have to first look at what we need money for, right?
Hmm.
Do we need to have a loan? Do we need to have a line of credit? Do we need to have a
Hmm.
grant? And you just said it. Whatever it is that you're getting, you're gonna have to work for it. It's not
And
like okay, somebody's
yeah.
going a grant's gonna fly out the sky, and then here we are. You're gonna have to work for it. So now we know we have this collaboration. We're in place. We know we have to work for this grant. So now we have this operational cost. We have this
Mhm.
multi-million dollar contract. We are ready to go. What's next?
And and I think something that I always go back to the women with. I mean, you always have your strategic plan, but make sure they understand the difference between the strategic plan and your business plan. So when you get that money, that's when you're going to go back and take a look at your business plan. That's when you're going to take a look at what resources that you need, and you want to make sure what activities that you need to do to get that end result.
Mhm.
So they can't blend the two. It's good to have the strategic plan, but then once they get that money for that particular project, they need to make sure that their business plan is in place and that they got the
Okay.
resources and the right people.
So that's back to your documents. Back to
Yeah,
your documents. Because if you don't plan to win, you plan to fail.
exactly.
So making sure that that strategic plan is in place, making sure you go back to your business plan and everything is coming together the
Yes.
way it should. Okay,
Mhm.
so we got our strategic plan, we got our business plan, we got our operational costs, we got our team in place, we have our contract, we're certified, we got our set aside. Now we're next. What are you
Yeah.
saying? What are we doing? We
What I
teaming. We're collaborating on this.
One of the things that I encourage the women to do more of, and I use the word communicate. That's one of my pillars, but it's
Ooh,
actually
okay.
branding. You
Collaborate,
need to make
communicate.
sure you are branding yourself. So you might have this project, but who else knows about it? You can't be a secret agent. So you need to make sure that your branding is on point and that you are attracting the right avatars or the right clientele to utilize your services. So this is
Absolutely.
another piece of it that we need to do. We need to make sure that we're branding our services properly. Yeah, you got the contract, but then what are you going to do with it? I mean, it's great. You want to move forward, but you need to make sure that you're branding who you are, what you do, and the benefits that you can provide.
So branding, branding. So now we got the first C being collaborate, the second C being communicate, and in the communication part of the collaboration, we're also making sure we're branding. So we're branding, we're making sure people know what we're doing. Hold on one second, Melly, you're in the camera, sweetie. I need you to get out the camera. Thank you so much. So we're collaborating, we're communicating, we're branding. We know what we're doing, we know how we're doing it. What's the next C? Because you got 5 C's for us. I am
Yes.
ready. If you just started listening to us, we're on with Betty Hines. It is National International Women's Month. We're celebrating women. We're elevating women. Betty is the founder and the CEO of Women Elevating Women. She's dropping these big nuggets. And I'm totally happy to be a part of this conversation. So she gave us, we're going to first collaborate. And after we collaborate, we're going to communicate. And in the communication, we're making sure we're branding, we're making sure that people know what we're doing. And so we're continuing to elevate. What's next?
Well, when you're doing all those things, what's going to come naturally is that connections, that's those strategic introductions. So
Connection.
you got the business. So who are you going to connect with? Who are you going to make those strategic introductions to? Because, like, as I said earlier, somebody knows somebody who knows somebody.
That's right.
And
That's right. You're
well, that's
absolutely
how you and
right.
I
Even with
connected.
us.
Somebody, somebody knows somebody who can get you to that next level. So be open about sharing those introductions because, like, those are resources.
That's
Those
right.
are resources that are valuable to you, but they can be valuable to somebody else as well. And that builds a relationship right
That's right.
there, making those
And the
connections for
relationships
other people.
matter. The relationships matter. And it's really important that you're saying one of the C's being the connection. That is what my business is about. Coaxum
Oh my
connect.
goodness. Okay.
Connecting you because relationships
Yeah.
matters.
That's your
They
social
matter.
capital. Mhm. Absolutely.
So it's really important for us to make those connections. And I mean, even when you said it, I started smiling because I have friends that are in all different industries, right? And so a lot of my clients are in different industries. One of my clients in particular is in a contracting industry. And so with the contracting industry, you need project managers, you need estimators, you need, attorneys that can look at, different land use things when you're looking to put things in the ground, right? And so I always laugh because I'm always tagging him in when I get to my contract industry. When I'm
Yes.
in my business industry, I'm in my food industry, I have to tag in my
Mhm.
friends that are in the food industry to make sure that we're handling food properly, to make sure we're storing it at the correct temperature. You don't need to know all these things, but you do need to know, like Beverly just indicated, you need to be able to connect. You need to
Mhm.
be able to know who to go to get what
Mhm.
you need when you need it in real time. And Betty, I don't know, Betty, if you read this book. It's called "Dig the Well Before You Thirsty," and it's by
No.
Harvey
No.
McKay. And he talks about these connections, right? He says, "Dig
Okay.
the well before you thirsty. Have these connections in your
Yeah.
in your toolbox before you
Yes.
need them.
Mhm.
Before you need
Yes.
them." So
Yes. Yeah.
listen, you on fire, girl.
Yes,
You
absolutely. And
are
you know what?
on fire.
When you're doing all those things, the other one that I bring to the table, and I talk about courage. And what my courage is about, it's about the courage to take care of your health and the courage to take to
Mm,
your wealth. Because women have a tendency, we got all these things going, and then your health, you forget about your health. You forget
that's right.
about the things you need to do because if you're not healthy, you cannot execute effectively.
That's right.
So we talk about that. I bring people in. I have cardiologists. I bring them in to talk about and sleep. So it's important to take care of your health,
That's
and
right.
because without your health, there is no wealth.
That's
And
right. Because
so
health is wealth. Health is
Absolutely.
wealth. It's interesting that you would say that. I had a shero, and she has since gone passed away. And I remember her visiting our church, and she used to be she was one of the first Black women that was deputy borough president here in the County of Kings, which is
Mhm,
Brooklyn. And I remember she got ill, and she started having some really bad health challenges. And I remember having a conversation with my pastor, and there was somehow it was about money and health.
mm,
And she said to her, "You can have all the money in the world,
mhm.
but if you're not healthy,
That's
it don't
right.
mean anything."
Mhm.
And my pastor was a whippersnapper, so he had to respond with, "You can have all the good health in the world, but if you broke, you got
Yeah,
a problem."
yeah,
So
yeah.
we laugh about it, but it's absolutely true, Betty.
Mhm,
It's true in all senses of the word. If your health is being challenged, it is very hard for you to focus on
mhm.
any bottom line. And
Yeah.
so it's important for us to be proactive as opposed to reactive
Mhm,
when it comes to our
mhm,
health. I have a 4-year old, so I'm going to make sure that his checkups are up to date. He's going to
mhm,
go to the dentist. He's going to see, the eye doctor if he has to. If he has allergies, we're going to go to a specialist. I'm
mhm,
not necessarily going to take a day off to do that for me. But I've learned since by looking
mhm,
at my sheroes that
mhm,
you must put your
mhm,
health first. You must.
mhm,
You must take a day
mhm,
off. Like literally from 5:30 until 8:30 on certain days, I shut down completely. I pick up Andrew at 5:30 and I'm with him from 5:30 to 8:30. We're gonna play some games, we're gonna roll in the dirt, we're gonna do what we do. And, you know what I'm saying? And give him that time. And when I come back on, I'm more productive.
Yes, yes,
And it's important
yes.
for us to understand that we need that. So health is definitely wealth. So
Mhm.
the courage to
That's
put
the
your health
courage
first,
fella. You've
the
gotta
courage
take
to
care of your
sleep.
health, and when you're making all that money, you need to make sure you're taking care of the wealth. Make sure
That's
you get
right.
a financial planner, make is in your business, make sure you've got the right that you're taking care of the taxes and that you're getting those tax breaks. That's
That's
the
right.
wealth part because you wanna leave that legacy. So you have to work in conjunction
Wow,
with your financial planner and with
you
your
threw
business
in
accountant. Yeah.
legacy. I love it. I love it. You're thinking holistically about this business. It's
Yes.
not just a business.
Mhm.
You're creating and leaving a legacy for
Mhm.
those that follow. And it's really important for us to have our financial, house in order to be able to leave something for our families in that way. And that's really,
Mhm.
really important. I'm glad you brought that in because, even in having your business, make sure you have life insurance.
Exactly. Mhm.
GoFundMe is not life
That answer,
insurance.
no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Make sure that you're taking the time to make sure that your loved ones are protected if
Mhm.
anything does happen to you. And that's a part of that legacy plan. Have an
Right.
exit strategy. If you have a partnership, make sure there's a contract in place. I
Yes.
had a situation with one of my business. They were great friends. They went into the partnership, had a fabulous partnership. The business became bigger than ever. One of the partners died.
Yeah.
There was no plan in place.
Yeah.
Wifey came in and took a seat at the
No
husband's.
key man. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Mhm.
What do you do?
Mhm.
Ran
Yeah.
the business right in the ground because she didn't understand the
Right.
business. She
Yes.
understood the money part of the business because she was invested in that part of it. And so she made sure that she understood that part of it, but she didn't understand the day-to-day
Right.
operations of how the business was run.
And
And there
that's
was nothing that
yeah.
partner could do.
You have to bring people in, and I do. I bring people in. I don't have the knowledge in all those areas, but you
Right.
bring experts in, and there's people in our group that do that. You bring in that person to have those conversations with you. The key manager. I see this all the time, especially in family businesses.
Yeah,
You want to make sure that you have your bases covered.
that's right.
Mhm.
That's right. It's funny how time flies when we having fun. We got to take a quick commercial break. We're coming back with Betty Hines. Get your pens, get your papers out. She's dropping these nuggets and these seeds. She got 5 principles that she's sharing with us. She started with collaboration, community, connections. And so now we're going to come back and get our next 2. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Thank you, Betty.
Metro New York's port services are currently constrained and challenged in facilitating the handling of international cargo. It's time for a whole new ballgame. Just 55 miles north of the city, Stewart Airport, closed during the base realignment, is an underutilized resource that could be maximized and bring growth to the area and relieve New York City. It's an ideal place for a thriving supply chain center of regional excellence called SCORE. We intend to support the New York and New Jersey Port Authority's commitment to the New York International Plaza, putting it at the forefront of a transformation of regional global trade, telecommunications, and economic growth. A logistics-based regenerative smart city that supplies an interactive platform of data and document interoperability to optimize resources. SCORE will transform this location into a thriving hub that can process and distribute cargo via various methods of transportation, elevating it to one of the world's best intermodal ports. We aim to build a cybersecure network operations center that enables customers to share data in real time across the supply chain and across the whole region, utilizing eco-friendly practices to keep things running efficiently. And it doesn't stop there. Not only will SCORE develop high-speed wireless networks in a data-driven city to improve logistics and facilitate international trade, it will also create critical infrastructure for regional economic development. By optimizing the business environment, attracting startups and investment, supporting the development of high-value industries such as medical, education, technology, and hospitality, creating new employment opportunities for the region. SCORE will inject vibrancy and inspire prosperity in an underutilized area to develop a greener and more livable smart city that thrives, bringing excellence to the Hudson Valley. It's a game changer. Visit IC Logistics to learn how you can support this SCORE economic development initiative at Stewart Airport.
I used to watch BET, MTV, VH1, now I watch Tempo. Soca, Calypso, Reggae Dance Hall. Don't stall, better get tuned in to the tempo. Don't have cable, they got an app. Go to your app store, download that. Whether it's tourism, cuisine, or the social scenes, if it ain't Tempo, it's a rap. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. Mr. Latest in Caribbean news? Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too? Tempo. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. Mr. Latest in Caribbean news? Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too? Tempo.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I love it. I love it. So as we know, it's International Women's Day, and we're celebrating with Betty Hines. And Betty, you can find us, anyone that just started listening in can find us on Roku, on Android, on Apple. I encourage you to download the app, and the app is ourtv.network. Download the app and make sure that you can access this particular recording as well as any other recordings. And you can also catch us on WSTX Bloomberg. And so I'm encouraging you, Betty's been dropping a lot of great nuggets in this segment. And Betty is our business strategist, and she is the founder of Women Elevating Women. And so we're really super excited to have her on today. She's given us 3 great opportunities and principles for us to kind of live by. And the first one being collaborating. We're making sure that we're collaborating together in our business spaces, and we're utilizing each other's energies to be able to grow our business. So we're collaborating. The second nugget that she gave us is community, making sure that we're understanding our community, making sure our communities are working together. We're branding who's in our community that need the whatever the nugget or the resource or the service that we are putting out there. Understanding our community, understanding our market, making sure we're branding, making sure that they know that we're doing what we're doing in the space that we're doing it in, right? After collaboration, making sure the relationships matter. We're talking about the community, making sure we're branding and making sure that what we're doing is being seen and heard by the audience that we need it to be seen and heard by. The next one she gave us is connections. And you guys know, Coaxum Connects is the name of my business because I connect you because relationships matter. And so because relationships matter, Betty Hines dropped the nugget that we need to make sure that we're connecting in our spaces, that we're connecting after we collaborate. We are making sure that we communicate, that we're absolutely connecting. And so these are all great nuggets that Betty gave that she was able to give us in our first part of the segment. We're super excited that she's joined us again for the second part of the segment to give us our other 2 nuggets. If you haven't been in our space, and you're joining us now, I'm asking you to make sure that you get your pieces and your pens out so that you can hear what Betty has to say as it relates to us growing our business. One of the other things that Betty really specializes in her spaces is getting businesses unstuck, right? So she's working with these 6-figure businesses that are doing what they need to do, and then they get into this space where they're not scaling. And so Betty specializes in making sure that we're scaling our business. And so, we're super excited to have her come back and talk to us a little more about scaling our business to the next level. And so for our listening audience, we are having a little technical difficulties with Betty's system. And so hopefully we'll be able to get her back on so she's able to give us some more nuggets on, the other 2 C's that we can absolutely take to the next level as we elevate. Elevating women is what we're doing for International Women's Day, and of course we're always celebrating women every day of every year and every month. And so we're super excited that Betty is with us today. And she's the founder and CEO of Women Elevating Women. And so Betty, are we able to get Betty back on? All right, so we're going to take a quick break and try to see if we can clean up what's going on. I think it's her feed that we're hearing a lot of a different feedback on her line, and we're not really able to hear her. So let's take a quick break and see if we can get that situation worked out and bring Betty back so we can get.
Time. It has a different meaning in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It goes backwards, forwards, it stops. St. Croix is rooted in history. So much of it still remains untouched.
I remember running on these streets as a kid. This shop was right down there. It opened the same year I was born. This is where the original Crucian hook was born. It's the symbol of these islands. And I wanted to have my hands in that very same history. I want to be able to pass it down to my family while still putting a new spin on it.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, we have an amazing culture that developed over time from all over the world.
St. John feels so untouched. Being underwater is like another world. There's no worries, there's no stress. I can just escape. This is my happy place. My passion for scuba diving came at just being fascinated with the water and wanting to be a mermaid. And this is the closest thing I can get to
Welcome back. Yay! We're back.
Yes, I hope it's good.
I'm not sure what happened there, but we had a little technical difficulties, but like anything else, we can, get over the evens and the flows. We got it. So we're back, Betty. Thank you so much. We're talking about the 3 nuggets that you gave us, and the 3 principles with collaborating, communicating, and connecting.
Right.
And so those were the nuggets that you gave us, and we wanted you to come back on and kind of give it. And these are the best practices, right?
Yes.
We talked about some of the barriers in the beginning, but now Betty has given us some best practices and even some big ideas behind how we're able to scale our business and get us to the next level. So I'm excited. I'm ready. I got my pen ready for my next 2. What's up, Betty? Share.
Well, those principles that I selected, those characteristics are ones that I've seen in successful entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And though they collaborate, they connect, they communicate or brand, and they also have the courage to take care of their legacy, their wealth, and their health. Something else that I've witnessed in successful entrepreneurs is what I call the cultivate pillar. And in the cultivate pillar, that is where they give back. They're either sitting on nonprofit boards, or they're doing something in the community, or they have a foundation.
Okay.
We do something similar. We give a gift of membership to a nonprofit in each one of our groups. So I have 5 groups, and each one of them has a nonprofit, and they're in alignment on what the other women are doing. So you give back because there's an expression that the expectation is that if you're given a lot, then you give back. And those are some things that I do. And I have the members embrace that as well, about giving back.
That's right. And it's important to give back, right? So cultivating is extremely important. You have and you share, and it comes right back to you.
Yes.
Exactly. And so it's really important for us to understand the needs of others. And that's a part of humility as well, right? That's a part of really us understanding each other and what we need and how to be able to do that. I mean, you gave us these 5 pillars, these 5 strategies that, as you say, that successful women are using on this International Women's Day / Women's History Month that they're using to really be able to take it to the next level. And so we're talking about collaborating, we're talking about communicating, connecting, having the courage to put your health first, having the courage to make sure that health is your health is your wealth, right? And now we're talking about cultivating.
Yes.
cultivating relationships, giving back to
Yes.
causes you believe in, volunteering,
Yes.
I remember during the pandemic, one of the main things that we did is we went to the food shelters often
Mm.
and we
Okay.
packaged the food and we
Mhm.
made sure that we dropped it off. And then another thing that we did was we fed the first responders. So we would take hot meals to the
Mm.
hospitals during COVID to make sure they
Mhm.
understood we know you, we
Yeah.
see you. One
Mhm.
of my sisters from another mister, she wrote this book, I See You, Sister. We see you. We see
Yes.
what you're doing. We see how you're doing it. And I want to recognize and celebrate you in the moment that you're
Yes.
doing it. And that's about what cultivating is all about. And
Yes.
it's extremely important for us to be able to do that. Girl, you are doing it. You are setting the world on fire with these principles. And that's what we have to do to make sure that we are elevating women. But in
Yes.
elevating women, you're elevating families,
Exactly.
elevating communities.
Exactly. You are. Mhm.
So it's
Yep.
really important for us to be
Mhm.
able to do that. I know we're winding down real soon, but I just need, we've given some we talked about some barriers. We gave the best practices are phenomenal, and if you didn't
Mhm.
take them down, Betty, I want you just to give us the five one more time for those of us
Sure,
that
sure,
don't want.
absolutely. It's collaborate,
Hmm.
it's connect,
Hmm.
it's communicate or brand.
Hmm.
It's courage to take care of your health, both your mental and your physical, and
That's
your
right.
wealth, and then cultivate. And what I'll tell everybody is that you have not because you ask not.
That's
So
right.
don't be afraid to ask.
And my mom always say, a closed mouth don't get fed. So you got to open up your mouth and let us know what you need
Yes.
so we can help you in whatever that
Mhm.
is. And that's in every principle though. Every
Mhm.
principle
Mhm.
that you have of the five, because you're collaborating, you're
Mhm.
working together, right? You're
Yes.
connecting, the relationships matter. You're
Mhm.
working together, right? When you have when you're branding and
Mhm.
you're connecting through your brand, your community, and then your
Yes.
courage, having the courage to know what
Mhm.
everybody else that's when I hear the
Yeah.
courage, I'm thinking about empathy and sympathy.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm thinking about your health is your wealth,
Mhm.
but I'm thinking about holistically, not just in your own body and your own family, but in your community as a whole. And then
Yes.
cultivating that at the end, making sure we're bringing it all together
Mhm.
collectively to have this one solid community
Mhm.
that we're moving forward during this International Women's Day, celebrating Women's History Month.
Yes.
Having Miss Betty Hines, the founder and CEO of Women Elevating Women, reminding us of who we are, reminding us of our strength, of our commitment, and basically of our reality that we can do anything that we want to do to scale our business and take it to the next level. This has been a phenomenal conversation, but I want us to end with you. I want you to give us, if you could give my listening audience, whether they are on Android or they're on Apple or Fire TV or Roku, or if they're tuning in on the app, and I
Mhm.
encourage you to download the app, what is the parting words that you want to leave with everyone that's listening to us on this International Women's Day during Women's
Mhm.
History Month, as you are celebrating and elevating women? What you want to leave with the listening audience? And we're also on WSTX Bloomberg Radio.
I want the women to understand first, women learn experientially and they
Mm,
learn from learning, sharing experiences with each other.
that's
That
right.
you don't have to do it alone. Find an organization, a group. It doesn't have to be a big group, a group where you can share those experiences
Hmm.
because together you can go further
Oh
together.
my gosh, together,
Mhm.
together.
Absolutely.
Together. And so this has been the Coaxum Report. Betty Hines has dropped some huge nuggets on you. I encourage you to go back and listen to it if you haven't listened, if you haven't heard the complete report today, the Coaxum Report. And then Betty, if you don't know, I think you may remember this, but this is being broadcast throughout all of the Caribbean,
Yes.
throughout all of the United States and Southeast Asia. And so we have a lot of listening audience, and don't be surprised when you get a little ding from someone and to say, hey, I saw you on TV out in whatever tropical island they were listening to us at. So
Great.
I want to thank you so much for being a part of the Coaxum Report. And of course, I'm going to invite you to come back because we continue to elevate women together. Thank you, Betty. Enjoy
Thank you for
your
having
day.
me. Enjoy the rest of
Wellness
your day as well.
Wednesday. Take care.
Yes.
Be blessed.
Thank you.